People disgruntled with their seats?
Oh,
No, I was hoping for the orange mic, so I'm really happy.
Okay, well, we can switch colours if anyone isn't happy. Will?
No, I'm good.
You got a little red for Liverpool. That's what we sorted that out for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we want to start on the way we always do by offering you a drink. Ben smuggled in some gin and tonics. Ooh. So, Ben, are you guys up for a drink or not?
Always.
Yeah? Have a drink.
I've got my special.
Very naughty. Will, I want to start with you. Last time we saw you, you said you weren't going to open another restaurant in London. You lied to us, barefaced. You said America was your market, and now you're opening somewhere next month. What happened? Why did you lie to us?
So we're opening Hawksmoor St Pancras. I did lie to you, not intentionally. I don't think. I don't deliberately lie to people, but like me and Hugh have walked around. London restaurants for a long time, and every now and then there's a building where you're like, oh, it'd be so cool, wouldn't it? So cool if you do it in that building. And it became available. That's a friendly way of saying what happened to it. It became available. And I've still got a text I sent Osh from the Devonshire of like, you don't know the guy, do you? The guy that like owns it. He's like, nah. I was like, I thought maybe Hawksmoor would be a good bet. To which his answer was, it's not the worst idea ever. Which is the bar that we aim for. So yeah, we got in touch with him. A charm offensive. And yes, sold the deal over Martinis in the Gothic Bar, which will now be the Martini Bar.
Oh, beautiful. A round of applause. That is a glorious story. Actually, just quickly finishing on you, sir. London and New York. Obviously, you got a wonderful restaurant over there. What could the London restaurant scene learn from New York? What are they doing better than we are over here?
I spend a ridiculous amount of time thinking about the differences between Brits and Americans, of which there are an incredible number. Witness any American leaving a little pause for you to whoop in. No whooping. Whereas it really throws me every meeting we have in America. So positivity, that would be one. They're just...
yeah, come on, guys, give us something.
See, look at the little whoop there from America. They're just... I really, really love that. We had a nice conversation earlier where Florence May said something nice about me, and I felt mortified and embarrassed. But they're also positive, and they embrace things that they're really good at, and they're not ashamed to be good at things, and I think that's great. The thing that comes to mind, though, in terms of restaurants is we talk particularly in Chicago, about characters in restaurants. I think at Hawksmoor, we've kind of developed this quite London style of trying to make everyone feel comfortable, keeping it relatively, really friendly, really low key, making sure everyone's happy. James earlier was sort of talking about, how he'd feel if someone kind of used his name. It's like, oh my God. And we brought this kind of London vibe to Chicago, maybe New York a little bit different, and they don't really like it that much. They like to feel special, not comfortable. They want characters. They want the whole thing to feel upbeat, and I think that thought of dining it should feel special. More and more, it should feel special, and we should really work out how to tailor things to individuals. Not the lesson I think from Chicago. Not this is how we think you should be treated. We're treating you like we would like to be treated, but we're working out what you want and how to give that to you. And actually, I think if push came to shove, I'd say New York, Chicago does do that better than we do it.
Beautiful. It's also a lovely segue, Will, because we're going to break this down into 3 little sections, the first of which is dining habits and trends. So thank you for that.
As if you didn't know.
As if you didn't know. And then operations and revenue drivers, and then we're going to look at the future of dining. So in some ways, you've covered absolutely everything in one beautiful answer. Mic drop. But yeah, we can open it up a little bit. Dining habits and trends. Dom, you're famous for your full course for £38 on a Sunday. What are you seeing out there?
It's a tricky one. I kind of feel like the dining experience is becoming simpler in a way. I think that the very long drawn out tasting menus that were maybe of a kind of a past time. People go to restaurants and they want to feel nurtured, and they almost want a big hug when they walk through the door. And restaurants they're more like experiences rather than places to be fed. I mean, lots of you have probably been to Kiln in Soho. If you're sat at the kilns, you've got the chefs kind of dancing around the kitchen. It's almost like a choreographed show, and you're being fed at the same time, and it's costing £70 or something. If you compare that to the Lion King, that's costing £250, I think it's unbelievable value. And so there's definitely, for me, a kind of a trend towards value dining in entertainment spaces rather than just restaurants. And I think as a restaurateur, it's more pressure because it's no longer just about a delicious plate of food on a table. You're competing against so many other great restaurants in London. You have to think about the experience as a whole. And so, yeah, I think looking at restaurants as an overall experience rather than just a function.
Florence, obviously you've run 7 places beforehand, now bakery, restaurant. What is easier to run at the moment, a restaurant or a bakery?
To be honest, they are equally as hard. It just depends if you're a morning person or a night person, which I feel like is my best of both worlds at the moment. Sometimes when I can't really, hack the long hours of a restaurant until 2 a.m., it's that or 4 a.m. at a bakery. So I feel like I really have to condition myself and mentally prepare if I'm switching from one side or the other. I do feel that restaurants, for me, hold a little bit more of a special place because you have a longer time with the customer. You are able to interact with them or see why they're out or what they're celebrating. So I feel like that and getting to know why they're coming into the restaurant is quite a nice touch. But also, it's quite nice to have a full of sea of customers in the morning in a cafe or in a bakery. It just makes you feel good.
Oh,
I don't know, it makes me feel good. Even if it's like a £4 coffee with a baked good, it really kicks the day off for me. And then when I have to do both, that's kind of when I turn around and go, I don't want to do both anymore. But that's kind of where I am at the moment. So I feel like, yeah, best of both worlds.
Well, nearly 5% of the UK are on Ozempic.
Yeah.
We had Atul Kutcher, Heston Blumenthal come on the pod recently and say they're now doing dedicated Ozempic menus. I mean, this is serious business now. It was a joke a year ago, not anymore. Are you guys tailoring anything towards that? Smaller plates, smaller offerings? What changes are you seeing on the floor, maybe, alongside those kind of things?
I think the answer is we're not yet. But it's on my mind a lot, actually. I mean, someone said to me, stop thinking about those kind of weight loss medications as something that some people take, and just start thinking of them as basically everyone will take them at some point. If you're a bit overweight, why not? It's like if you need.
I don't like the way you looked at me there, Will.
Together, we'll do it together.
I'm in a queue. I'm on a waiting list.
Yeah, okay, but what's the read through of that people are going to be doing? I think people are still going to want to go out. They still want to have experiences. They still want to be entertained. And of course they want to eat and they want all the human connection, but they probably don't want the full massive Hawksmoor experience. Some people do and some people don't. And I think we are going to have to adjust. I mean, I think generally in London, smaller is better at the moment. I mean, like if I think about how we're doing drinks and bar food, smaller, delicate's the wrong word, but kind of a bit more sophisticated is the way forward. And there was a time when it was all kind of big and garish and loud. But I think that period is over, and I think the weight loss jabs, which will be pills, I think, by about spring.
Yeah, it's good news.
Is great news. Yeah. Great news. Yeah, that's the only thing that's put me off so far. I think it's going to be a really big thing.
Opentable data shows a rise in early evening bookings, people moving towards sort of unique dining experiences. What are you guys seeing on the floor? What has changed in the last 12 months? And how are you sort of, giving the customers what they need? Because everyone can't fit into a 6:30 booking.
I think for me, I'm seeing a lot of 6:45s, 7:45s. It's quite odd.
Yeah,
I'm like, why can't you just come at 7:30? Why 45? But we've adjusted with that, and I think that was really useful to know where they were going after, or they had an event, or there's always something happening in Soho. So people have somewhere to be afterwards, but they want to have a good meal before that event, because a lot of events, they don't really have great food at those things. So that's kind of what I've experienced at Donya. But
Is
in general,
that a boon for you? Because are you then getting some bonus diners before
Yes.
people still then come
Yes.
at 7:30, come at 8:30?
yes,
Yeah.
they will come in and be the best diners ever because they'll order a lot because they want to be full, and then they will leave as fast as possible. So for me, that's a heavenly customer. But also, I feel like a lot of people don't want to be caught on the kind of commute home. No one wants to go home at the same time anymore. They're just finding that right spot where the tube's not packed, or there's not a strike, or a diversion, because there is a lot of that, especially where I am. So I think that is something that plays into people's mind, like their travel and their time, which is why we have a lot of 5 o'clocks and 5:45s and so on. So I feel like for me, it works for me. We get to all go home. Obviously, you just need to kind of work on that time with the guests, but it works for me. So I'm okay with it for now.
Is it the death of late night dining though, Dom? I mean, Jeremy King has been talking about it for a while.
I mean, I don't think so. I think the Dover's been everywhere and is supposedly packed at kind of 11:30 p.m.
Supposedly.
So I think it is. I think it depends where where your restaurant is. We operate restaurants in central London and in more neighbourhood areas, and we haven't seen a massive uptick in kind of 5:30 p.m. tables in Westbourne Park or Clapham, because people would have to finish work at about 3 p.m. to get to them. But in central London, for sure, we're lucky at Westbourne Park because we've got some space, so we've been able to put in some extra tables for those kind of peak dining hours, which have decreased. But in Bar Crispin, for example, we couldn't put another chair in there. So I think where you fall in terms of how lucky you are with earlier dining in Central is a great thing, I think, for everyone, because you're still going to have a post-theatre dining crowd. I don't know, Will, if you're seeing a decrease or an increase in pre or post-theatre timing-wise.
He's doing the questions now.
It's
Are
unbelievable.
you getting
I
paid
prepared
by
a couple.
The honest, you two are kind of superfluous.
That was completely useless.
People have been saying that
each other.
for 2 years.
Yeah, we get a lot, and we do get a lot of pre-theatre. I remember Russell Norman said to me at some point when we first opened in the West End, he's like, pre-theatre is just the best, Will. In, out, 6:30. And now you're right, like that's just Londoners. I think that the thing that we've talked about in Hawksmoor and I think is kind of a bit of a challenge for the industry is, and I'm being a bit glib, but no one goes fast enough anymore. I think there's a sense, anyone who's a restaurateur here who loves restaurants, there's a sense of like, we like to linger, like to take time with someone at the table.
Yeah.
Just don't worry, don't rush, I'll be back in a few minutes. Like, dude, no one wants that. People want to come into restaurants now and they're like, I want to order stuff, I want it to come promptly, I want to move through the gears quickly, and if I want to take more time at the end, great. But it's much, much more normal that people are frustrated with how slow things go than for how frustrated
Really?
with fast. And we've really tried to increase how quickly we go through the meals, which was hard for us, I think, because my instinct as a restaurateur is slow things down.
Let it breathe.
And it's the opposite. It's go faster now. And people will let you know if they want to go a bit slower. We try and ask that question now. Are you any time pressure or whatever? Would you like to go quickly?
Do you get a sense, like Florence was saying, that's because people have somewhere to be, or just people are more impatient, they want to get it done and get home?
I mean, sometimes, like Debbie, they want it 5 o'clock, and like if your kids are still sitting in the restaurant at 6:30, it's over, or you want to get home to see your kids or something. It could be for all sorts of reasons. I also think there's a bit of an attention span in there now. People are just used to things going quicker because we've all got a little bit more ADHD, and I think it really is a part of London dining. I mean, actually, it's the same in other cities, but particularly in London.
I mean, you guys have all done an incredible job over the years with your restaurants. We spoke with Anna Tobias, another wonderful chef restaurateur, recently. She said it's hard after the first couple of years. You open a place, you're the hot spot, everyone wants to go, and then suddenly another place opens and off they go. How do you keep people coming back? I mean, as a restaurateur, how do you stay relevant? You've done it for nearly 20 years, so congratulations. You guys have done an incredible job as well. But how do you keep doing it? How do you keep people coming back?
Gosh, that's such a difficult question. I think for Donya, I feel knowing their name or why they've come out to dine that night it makes a difference to the guests that make the booking and also kind of learn about the restaurant. So I feel like if you really have an impact to the dinner that they're having, they will book again. And sometimes when people have booked, even twice, 3 times, or we've seen them, we'll give them something that's not on the menu yet. Or I'll make something that I've seen this guest and they've absolutely had everything. So I need to kind of give them something special. I feel like customers still really appreciate that. So I feel like for us, they know if we come 3 times, she's going to make us something. So I'm like, why has that gotten out? But I feel like just changing it up and not having it completely marketed for everyone to know, like what deal or what special thing you've got. I think having something like that in the restaurant still makes guests feel that, yes, this is why we come to this restaurant, because they're going to remember our names. They're going to give us something that no one else is getting. It's quite hard to manage and quantify that experience, but we try, and I feel like that really works for me. So
that's great. Yeah. I mean, that's old-fashioned hospitality.
Yes.
It's good to know it still works.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're not going to have to change that sequence now because everyone's going to know.
Yeah.
But
Make them wait. Make them go to 4 times.
yeah, for sure.
What about you, Tom?
I think in a funny way, the London audience is quite fleeting, and it is exciting to go to the best new opening. There's kind of 5 to 10 new restaurants every single month opening, but I think a restaurant after a year is kind of when it starts really finding its feet. And I think for us, despite having had, Bistro Freddy was a crazy start, and it was probably the worst it's ever been in those opening months. And I think we try every week just to make all the tiny little details of the restaurant better. And if we're going on that basis, if you're visiting in year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, typically the experience will be much better. And we quite often do a discount in January across our restaurants for our subscribers, hopefully through Opentable.
Definitely.
And we try and get them back. Maybe they've not been in a year since the first discount, and actually getting them back is a new opportunity to try and remind them how good the restaurant is and how much better it's become. And so it's just trying to pull those guests that have visited you once upon a time back in and reminding them.
Will, how much of a restaurant success is down to the food?
I think if Hugh was here, my business partner, he would say a majority of it. He's really interested in, the things that are on the table. He's obsessed with the details, and he's a massive foodie. And I think it's some, but not a majority. I like kind of what's in the restaurant and how it feels in there, what the noise is in the restaurant like, what service is like. But I think when you talk about its success beyond is it busy, I think a lot about, someone introduced me to the idea of table stakes in running restaurants. So you play poker, and as you play, the table stakes increase. So you have to keep increasing your stack to carry on playing. That's vaguely how poker works. The table stakes constantly increase in restaurants. Like the days when you could open a restaurant, I think at the beginning of my career, and the food was good, that was enough. It's ridiculous to think you could just open where the food is good and the service wouldn't be good. Like that was the next thing. But really now, I think to be successful, financially successful and sustainable in that way, the number of things you have to be good at to just as table stakes, whatever you've seen today, marketing, customer relationship management, CRM, whatever it is, procurement, there's all sort of margin control, labor efficiency. Oh my God, there's such a long list of things that you have to be good at. Kind of getting the food right feels like a pretty basic thing now. And of course, there are some restaurants that are just so standout exceptional at food that can overshadow all of those other things and can cover a lot of other things that maybe they're not as good at. But I think for most restaurants, it's really, really hard now. You have to be good at a whole load of different things.
You guys have been around quite a while. Lots are saying this is the toughest ever year to run a restaurant. Are we in agreement? And what are some tricks? I'm sure we've got some restaurateurs in the audience to try and get around that, like little things you've sort of learned over the last couple of years on how to negate that.
I definitely do agree. I was just saying to James earlier, it's not been bad for myself, but it's been hard. It's been really difficult to keep up with all the things that you have to do to run a restaurant. I think for me and my team, which is quite a good topic earlier, I encourage the team to use ChatGPT because a lot of the times, like, they are waiting for some type of support they're waiting on hold on the phone. And in a restaurant, that's kind of, your worst nightmare, to be put on hold when something's going wrong. So I feel like my managers recently love using it for solution problems for, let's say, a piece of equipment that's gone down. And back when I had to figure out, I'd have to find the manual, they're in ring binders, like, they're everywhere. But right now, you could take a picture of a piece of equipment, put it through ChatGPT, it'll tell you the make, the model, and then it'll highlight the troubleshoot for you. So I think I did a session with one of my managers and said, this is how you fix the ice machine. And they just never bothered me about any piece of equipment ever again. So I'm really thankful for that in that respect. So there's little things that it can do to make life easier for us. And I find that's been really helpful for when they can't contact, their boss. I'm in the kitchen. I don't want to deal with the ice machine right now. Or I'm in the bakery. It's really resourceful in that way. So that's kind of what we do at the moment.
Tell me.
It's definitely tough, but I feel like that's it's a short-term outlook. I think really, if we're looking long-term, restaurants are really these spaces that facilitate connection, and it's one of the last kind of bastions of, as we were saying earlier, humanity. And I think where we're trying to find efficiencies, definitely agree, kind of early bookings, late bookings, people are trying to speed up their dining experience. But those peak dining times, people are trying to lengthen their experiences. We have 2 hour turn times. People would stay for 4 hours if they could. And I think, given that we're living in an increasingly digital world, meetings are on Zoom. There are efficiencies across everything. That in-person experience where you're not on your phone, you're across the table from someone, connecting to them, connecting to your servers. I think restaurants in their current form, particularly for lunch and dinner, servers won't be replaced by robots, and there will be a huge value placed on that human connection. So I think the long-term outlook is actually super positive, but it's tough for sure.
Will, do you want to jump in?
I was going to answer with like a mindset thing. It struck me that one of the best things that happened to me sort of since COVID was a conversation with our employee number 2, who now runs all the restaurants. And I think one of us said to the other, just when is it going to feel easier? And the other one went, never. It's not like that anymore. It's just the truth of restaurants, in a similar way to, you asking about longevity of restaurants once you've opened it and all the kind of glamour has kind of gone, and restaurants are really hard. The only way restaurants work is that you are on top of them all the time. Every service, every week, all the time on it. And I think actually it was really helpful for both of us to think, it's not going to get easier. We're not waiting for a lull when we can just like cruise a little bit. You've got to be on it all the time. And the thing you've got to be doing is asking yourself the question, how do we get better? You've got to ask it all the time. It's the only way that restaurants survive for a long time. And everyone has their own kind of answers. You ask 100 restaurateurs, you get 100 things that they want to get better at. But that mindset of how do we constantly improve and do it in a way that feels relentless, which to anyone who's already working too hard is a bit like, oh my fucking God. But that is the truth of restaurants, I think.
But with like rising costs, rising tax, everything's going up. Is the first thing you're tempted to cut the quality of the produce or the product? And how hard is that to resist at times?
I don't think so. I think it's whatever. Can you go faster? Can you keep people for longer? Can you train better? Can you make sure we always think like, cool, things are getting hard. This is a bit wanky. Things are getting hard. Cool, we're going to be better than everyone else. We're going to deal with hard things better than everybody else. So if we find it hard, they'll find it almost impossible, and we're just going to push, keep trying to improve. I think the worst thing you can do is, like, you say it out loud, we're going to try and make things a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Sounds awful. It's impossible to know how.
For a lot of people, their response would be, like, you go to the bottom line, they go, can we reduce costs? Whereas I guess a restaurateur would go, how can, like you're saying, how can I make this better?
Yeah, although that said, anyone here could make their business more efficient without making it worse. You just can. And I think as a restaurant, as a restaurateur, there's this thing in all of our heads, which again, actually the Americans do not have, which is running things like a business or growing or trying to be more profitable is the antithesis of what real restauranting is about. And, I mean, it isn't. It isn't. Everyone can go and make their restaurants more efficient. You just can. All of us. It's just hard. And it's not the stuff that's really fun. We all like the stuff that is...
I think as well, like, if you were going to think about reducing your cost first, I feel like that overall impacts, like, the experience of your restaurant. I feel like people are smarter now. They know, they have better eating habits. They dine out more frequently, so they can compare restaurants easily and the quality of food. So I feel like that would be the last thing I would think about reducing in terms of like making costs. But yeah, customers notice. They definitely do.
I think just framing it like the levers that we have to pull on are behind the scenes, and I think from the guest point of view, the food needs to be better than it's ever been, the service needs to be better than it's ever been, the environment needs to be perfect, the sound needs to be perfect, the crispness of the paper, the size of the fonts, the guest experience from their booking to their online journey, all of that needs to be better than ever, and it needs to be more generous than ever, and all of the levers that need to be pulled for us to run successful businesses needs to be behind the scenes, you know.
Well, before we get into the future of dining, just one more thing. For the restaurateurs in the room, what's one thing they could do tomorrow that might actually improve their bottom line, sort of maybe start to shift them towards a slightly happier 2025 into 26? It's a tricky one. We should have warned you of this.
I'm going to be extracting my data and presenting that to my team together because I feel like often you get a lot of insight, but because you don't really know what you're looking for, and it's quite overwhelming sometimes. So I feel like having something broken down and looked at in that respect, whether it's customers or maybe just your COGS, for example, I feel like that was really useful, and it took like a room like this to make me realize that I'm not doing that enough. So I feel like if I'm that, probably my staff are going to benefit from that as well.
Beautiful.
I think probably trying to use a procurement company, someone like Zero Procure for your consumable line is a good place to start. You know, you're not impacting the guest experience by changing out your veg supplier or whatever, but it's something like that will have a small impact.
Oh, it's very
Will,
sexy.
come on, give me the 1, 2, 3. I love a 1, 2, 3.
I'm not going to do a 1, 2, 3, but also I do this mental.
Who's the third?
Okay, fine. Okay, I'm the third. Fine. Okay. I'm pausing just because it sounds like it's some kind of management consultancy, or I just read a book, which I probably did. But a question we've asked ourselves this year, which has been really helpful, is: are we genuinely somewhere that like cherishes and looks for high performance, for people to be really, really good at what they do, for us to be really, really good at what we do? And our instinctive answer was yes. And our second answer was, I'm not sure we are. I think there's lots of things that we value, and some of them are really important. That doesn't diminish their importance. Likeability. Hawksmoor is full of really, really likeable people. Is the work that we're doing really, really impactful? There was a lot of people, remember about 6 months ago, thinking, there's a lot of people working really hard. Are they doing the things that we really want to do, that really make us better, or are they just working really hard? And I think that focus on just how can we actually improve rather than work hard or be likable, etc., is actually quite a difficult, I think, we have found it quite a difficult mindset shift to make. But I think anyone can go back to the restaurants, just how can we improve and not let shit, there's like 30 things to do, be the enemy of we're going to start with 1 or 2 of them and just really work out what good looks like and how to get there.
Well, let's go future of dining. Come on. I mean, where do we see the next wave of London dining heading? What do we think the next generation want from dining? It's changed a lot since COVID. What's going to be the case in the coming years?
I think they want, for me, I think it's definitely earlier, but also they want like a surprise, even though they crave for information. So I feel like if you could balance the two, it'd be beneficial for like creating new concepts or dictating how people actually eat out. More and more, I feel like people want something they have seen across the other side of the world. So I feel like collaborative guest nights with chefs, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I would love to kind of save a trip to Japan and have an omakase, but as someone I've been following for years, so I feel like that's going to be something interesting because I'm starting to see a few of those pop up recently. And just people who want to try completely something crazy and bring community together, like a 2.0 level of a supper club, I feel, is what's coming.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, Tom, you love a collab, don't you?
I do love a collab, yeah.
But they
Who
work.
doesn't?
I mean,
I mean, they're good, particularly. We had no connection to the hospitality world when we started out, and it's a great way to cross-pollinate your audience, try and aim for the heights of the best operators, and try and align yourselves outwardly with great brands. I think people just, they want to feel good ultimately, and I think that the best new restaurants will be the ones that make people feel good. I think that it's going in that direction. It's really going in that kind of connection over anything.
what about value, Will? I mean, Tim Siaratana, Padella and Trullo came on and said if you give people value with the food, they often actually outspend themselves on wine. They think they're getting treated, so they'll spend double on wine because they think they're being looked after. Is that still going to be a very important thing going forward, do you think?
Yeah, I think value and perceived value are really, really important. So kind of what you give people, the quality you give them for the price you give them is of course important. But we think about that perceived value thing all the time. I remember going back years, went to a restaurant in Edinburgh, like a Michelin-starred type restaurant, and I can't remember, at the time, a gin and tonic was like $10.50, and on the Hawksmoor menu in 7 Dials, it was $7.50. It's like, we're missing a trick here, and the guy I was with is like, we're not missing a trick. You go into Hawksmoor, and you have a $7.50 menu, you feel $7.50 gin and tonic, you feel comfortable immediately. You look at your starters, and there's some stuff at the accessible end, and nothing's too expensive. You look at a Chateaubriand, but it's priced by the 100 grams, not the actual price of the whole thing altogether. You're comfortable. You don't feel like this is going to be a problem. Whereas you go in, you have something really expensive at the beginning. That signal tells you I've got to do something different. I've got to hold back rather than lean in. And I think it's really, really important. Like how people think about pricing is a really, really important part of it. Not just the value of what you serve, but what is the price of your dishes. Jeremy King's really, really good on that stuff.
And how's tech played a big role? Because obviously it's changed. You've been going for 20 years next year, which is unbelievable with Hawksmoor. But
you have mentioned you're really old.
You're looking amazing
quite a few times.
No, you're looking incredible.
Yes, good, thanks.
You're looking absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
It's not about your looks; it's about your successor. But I was just going to say, obviously, tech has evolved massively in that period. How is it helping you now? Opentable, all these other wonderful resources you have.
I mean, I think when businesses, in some ways, business is a series of trying to solve problems, right? And for a while, but particularly in the last year or two, I think the best people, and I don't think we were in that group right at the beginning, and we're trying to be now. Instead of try and find like a human answer to a thing, try and find a tech answer to a thing. It just makes you more efficient in a world where kind of costs are rising, etc. And also, it's just faster and better. So we've taken on a whole load of stuff. I think more interesting, or the thing I think about a lot at the moment, so it's almost certainly my son calling me to give him some more time on his phone, is I think we spend a lot of time thinking about how do we, restaurants, use tech and AI to improve our operations. I think way more interesting is how do our customers use tech and AI to get to restaurants? And I mean, you heard a little bit about it when you were talking about the concierge thing on Opentable, but I do it with ChatGPT. I don't ask Google to recommend stuff anymore. If I go to Madrid, I ask ChatGPT to do it. And it knows who I am, and it knows the kind of things I like. How many of you know the answer to, so how do we make sure our restaurant shows up well on AI? I'm guessing the answer is almost no one. On Google, yeah, people don't use that anymore. And fast forward, I know what it is, 6, 12, 18 months. It's toast. Everyone's going to be doing stuff on AI. How do we show up so that we're getting eyeballs on AI? And the answer is, I don't really know. But I think it's a massive, massive part of the next 6 to 18 months of the industry.
Fascinating. And also what the next generation who are coming through now, what are they going to look like? What are their spending habits? And what are they going to want from their restaurants and their spaces? Is that something you guys give thought to? Is it in your minds?
Yes, but it's not really the first 5 things on my mind.
You're busy.
But I feel like with just technology in general, for me, how we've utilized it is just it makes training more efficient for a lot of people that maybe don't have like 10 years experience of restaurants. I feel like it's a good way to consolidate and absorb information as opposed to, you know, finding the next chapter or finding the next recommended book. I feel like it's a lot more of a streamlined way to learn. And I find that the younger team that are joining hospitality now, they like that. They like having like a binge-worthy like amount of information that they don't have to ask you or bother you. I feel like that's a common thing that I'm like, you can ask me, you can send me an email, or no, they just want to have it all in one place, and they just want to be super prepared, which is, I think, helpful for them and helpful for me. But for the customer, I haven't actually thought about it, how they would use it. I feel like the only thing I could think about is, I feel like the map, people really like that. Like a lot of restaurant review pages, like Infatuations or like Hot Dinners or the Step app, they would have like, this is where you are. This is what the restaurants are nearest to you. I feel like that's definitely something that I've seen impact us quite a lot if we're showing up on their maps. But yeah.
What about the impact of sort of the TopJaw versus the... I mean, you got an awful review from AA Gill once, which didn't have an impact. Didn't have an impact because you've got a brilliant, brilliant restaurant group. But you had TopJaw come in, and you said it was an incredible success for you to relaunch your latest restaurant. You had Jonathan Nunn come in. You sold out your beef sandwiches for a year.
Yeah.
I mean, these are things you can control. I mean, how interesting is that space?
We're fighting for attention, and you know there are so many good restaurants in London, but when you think of what restaurant am I going to tonight, it's the one that is in your mind. And I think as an operator, we need to try and use tech to make sure that we are capturing the attention of our current diners, our previous diners, and a new generation of diners. And that's not necessarily in a kind of clickbait way, but you know the great example of the newsletter of the lunch deal. You know, it's about capturing attention, and even if that wasn't the intention of that, I think it's just something that we have to be cognizant of.
Beautiful. Well, sadly, we're coming towards an end. It was a beautiful thing to behold. But Benny,
Freddie, tell me we got time for my
We've
favourite
got time
section.
for your favourite section. We're going to do 2 quick fires, and we're going to let you be released into the bowels of the Barbican.
So we always ask everyone about their industry plate peeve, something that fucks them off about the industry. Have any of you got something?
You need to give us something.
You do, contractually.
Yeah.
What winds you up about the industry?
What could be done better?
You're just going to throw that at me straight away. Great.
Oh, we can get anyone else.
Well, come on. 2 of you have been on the podcast before.
I mean, there's so many things. Actually, one of the things that is vaguely on my mind at the moment is that whole treat people as you would like to be treated. The number of times I go into restaurants, demonstrably, is a lot. And I think... I can't believe the CEO of Opentable just laughed at the fat
that's
joke.
A bad one.
That's unkind. You wouldn't do that in America. Sometimes I feel like this is such a first world problem, but like trapped by hospitality. Try this. Here's a thing. Wouldn't you like? I'm like, I don't really want any of those things. I was just coming in for kind of like a quick lunch, and the issue is not that, but it's treating people like you would like to be treated rather than how they would like to be treated. That reading the table thing, to me, that was like one of the magic arts of front of house people. You read the table. And it was like a real source of pride. Yeah. I can tell you why you two want a different experience to you two, and I'm going to make it different on each table. And in a world where I think people crave more direction, more just tell me how to do a great job and I will then do that great job. That art of how you see an individual and work out what it is that they want and give it to them. when you find that, it's brilliant, but it is
lost.
now really unusual, I think.
Florence?
God, am I going to follow that? Pet peeve.
Plate, just to
I think for me,
keep it on the contract.
No, you're very proud of the name.
something that's quite.
Took me hours of ChatGPT in that.
I think something that's quite hard for me and frustrating is when guests will, in real time, review you, almost. I find that incredibly depressing when you can hear, oh, this is what I'm going to write today, or I'm going to email them because I didn't think it was warm enough in this section of the restaurant. And sometimes everyone can hear it, especially in a small restaurant. Donya is 35 covers, and I have a pass, and I can hear. And it makes me...
You hear them talking to each other saying, we're going to put that on the internet?
No, I mean,
They
they're
won't come up and
thinking
say-
about it. They're like,
Right.
should we do it? Should we just email them? Should we speak to them now? Try to get a free pudding? I'm like...
You're like, just come 3 times, you'll get the free pudding.
Yeah,
Couldn't be simpler.
can't you just write that afterwards? Do you have to talk about it right now? And I feel like that's quite often because people, really value dining out and what they're spending. So I do understand. And sometimes when I'll hear it, I'll go out sometimes. I said, I'm sorry, did you not enjoy this? Or did you prefer something else? And they'll say to my face, oh, everything was wonderful. It was beautiful. We're coming back. And I'm like, then why did you?
That's
We'll
how
see.
the English are.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's what the
my goodness. But we find we can tell. We can tell with their body language and, if something is not to their liking. So I feel like that's probably my thing where, can you just tell us? And we will make it what you want it to be if we know in advance.
Yeah.
But I think people are very opinionated, but then will retract easily unless they're writing their review or writing their email.
Well, if they tell you face to face, it allows you to be hospitable and have a hospitality business. If they do it once they've left, you can't.
Yes.
You don't have that.
Even
choice.
when they email us after the fact, that will quite, my team will immediately say, oh no, this happened. We knew she didn't say anything, but that was that. So I feel like a lot of people will say they're happy, but really they want something else. It's a lot of mind games. I don't really appreciate that.
Well, Dom, come on, finish us off. We've had 2 great plate peeves. It's been unbelievable.
Digital menus or QR menus. Restaurants are physical experiences, and I think you can see by the number of restaurants, one of which is ours, doing handwritten menus. It's not the fact that it's handwritten that people are excited by it. It's just a physical experience with the tactile feeling of a menu in your hand. And actually, if you look at menus of the past century, there's 2 great books on it. Celebrating the artwork of a menu, celebrating the experience of having a piece of paper put in front of you and exploring the menu without the need of a screen in front of us. I think we have to protect that element of the physical space that exists in a restaurant.
Well, guys, it's been absolutely fascinating. Please can we get a big round of applause for Dom, Florence, and Will? Thank you so much. Ben, well done as well. Some wonderful one-liners in there. I think now it's time for the CEO of Opentable. Was that right? Maybe in a couple of minutes? I don't know. If you want, you can subscribe to the Go-To Food podcast on all great platforms as well. Thank you so much.